Hello everyone, it's Corvette Dan. It's that time of year again when many of us are looking to get our cars ready for the driving season. It is approaching. However, some of you folks are now looking to purchase a C5 possibly. This video is going to help you decide and what to look for. But I also want to add that there's an important feature that I had missed in the original video. I'm going to drop at the end of the video something you need to see, and I'll give you a hint. It may push some of you looking for a 2003 or 2004 into an early C6, 2005, 2006 possibly. So stay tuned, and here we go. Be C5, so you want to buy one. What should I look for? There's a lot of things you could look for, but we're going to talk about some of the ones I feel are the most common, the ones you should be on the lookout for. Let's start right here in the front. The first one, these things sit very, very low. Look for cracks here. The piece here and around, it goes all the way around to the front, but what you want to do is you want to feel around underneath here. You want to feel, you could actually feel on some cars it's gouged because they ran up a curb. Take a look if you can get that low and just see what the condition is of the lower front. Bumper cover. Yes, they can get dinged from rocks and even bugs. So the paint, yeah, you want to make sure there's no major structural damage because of that. All right. You also want to look to see if the front license plate cover is there and if it's in good shape. Those replacements are like $200. You want to look at the headlights. Open them, close them, see if they make a noise. See if they're aligned properly. Now let's pop the hood here. These engines are very reliable, but I want to point out a couple of things. You might hear, especially on a cold startup, is a chirp, 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 chirp. That comes from this. The belt tensioner. Now these tensioners do go and they'll chirp, but sometimes there's something else that's causing them to chirp, and that's that guy down there, what's the harmonic balancer. If you look closely, you can see that big pulley down there. It's connected to the harmonic balancer. Now generally if the car is stock and the person really hasn't raced it and hasn't modified it, you generally shouldn't run into this problem, but there is a common problem, especially on the modified cars and the cars that are raced a lot, where that balancer starts to wobble, and eventually it will wobble its way off because it's not bolted, it's a press fit. Okay, and the way to see that is when it's running, you want to look down there with a flashlight and see if you can see it going like this, wobbling. Right now it might do it a little bit, but if it's squeaking, this belt tensioner is squeaking, that's because that thing is moving. It could be just the tensioner, but if that balancer is wobbling too much, then you're going to have a balancer problem. It really also depends on, like I said, how the car was driven, if it was modded or not. If you know somebody that has a C5 and that person knows they don't have a balancer issue, look at theirs, because you will see it move a little bit. But excessive play, you'll actually be able to tell the difference, even if you never saw one. That is the major thing under the hood to look for immediately. Also, you want to see if there's been any sort of modifications. You just want to know, because people are going to try to say, well, this car's worth more because I have a Veraram. Nope. Nope. That's one of the biggest fallacies about cars, is someone else's aftermarket parts do not add value to the car. Do not buy a car and pay more just because somebody else's goodies around there. You're going to pay more because this piece of rubber is red? I highly doubt it, and I wouldn't expect you to. If I ever sold this car, I would take the stock parts that I have put away and put them back on the car. So keep that in mind. Aftermarket goodies do not add to the value of these cars, or any car for that matter, for the most part. There are exceptions, but there's exceptions to everything. Another thing you want to look at, the tires for a few things. For one, I've seen too often somebody's buying a car at a dealer, it's 8 years old, but only has 16,000 miles. Oh, the tires are in good shape. 8 years old? Nope. Old tires are bad tires. Doesn't matter how many miles they have. And I'm going to show here, if you can see, right here. Do you see that number? It says 3517. That means that come up in the 35th week of 2022, these tires will be 5 years old. 17 is the year, 35 is the week. So these tires are coming up on almost 5 years old. Would I say any more than 6 or 7 years? Get new tires. Some people would even say 5. However, another thing you want to look at is curb rash on rims. See this? That's what's called curb rash, people running up curbs. Since we're looking at the rim, you also want to become privy to what are stock rims. The 97 through 99, this is a 99, had what's called wagon wheel rims. They're either silver painted or chrome. Most of them are silver painted. If you see those on a 97 through 99, they're the original rims. We could say what we want about those rims, but they're very strong compared to the thin spokes of newer cars. So if you have a 97 or a 99 and it doesn't have wagon wheels, they're not the original rim to the car. Does this really make a difference? Well, it can and it can't. So based on the year of the car, 97 through 99 should have the wagon wheels, and then anything later should have thin spokes. There are some exceptions. The Z obviously gets these rims. You have the 2050th anniversary has its own unique rims. There were some magnesium rim options, I believe, available even in 1999. But if magnesium rims are on this car, the owner is definitely going to tell you, because those could actually put a price premium on the car itself. Another thing you want to look for here on the side, a lot of times this will be cracked, the rocker panels, because again, people running up on stuff. You want to feel underneath here too, and feel for, somebody running up on something. All right, let's go and move on here. Rubber's an issue. The seals on these cars, actually on all Vettes, check the condition of these seals. This rubber's expensive, folks. Tops. Did the car come with both tops? Does it have both tops? What's the condition of the smoke colored top? Those things tend to delaminate. Look at the condition of the second top if it has it, or if it only has the top. Ask. Definitely ask. Did it come with both tops? There is a RPO code that you could look up. I'll put that in the comments in terms of what that code is to tell you if the car had two tops. You would find that code and all the codes in the glove compartment. There is a label. There's all kinds of stuff in there. I'm not opening it up. It's going to fall out. But there's a label in there that has all the option codes. All right. From here, you want to go around the exhaust. Does it have an aftermarket exhaust system? No, it doesn't make the car worth more. Most of these cars did. The stock exhaust, it is kind of... But in this case, my stock exhaust has the partial bypass, which actually does make it cool. But you just want to check out what kind of exhaust is on here. You're trying to get an idea for how this person drove the car. Truth be told, a lot of people that drive these cars like grandmas and grandpas put a catback on these cars. It doesn't mean anything bad. However, another thing I'm going to talk about when I say grandma and grandpa, which is what I wanted to allude to, is higher mileage cars. Do not steer away from a higher mileage car, because honestly, so many of these C5s with 15, 20,000 miles, they keep having problems because they're not driven. These cars are meant to be driven. Sitting a newer car, is worse than driving it. These cars, these engines are venerable. This LS1 is just, so don't be steered away from a higher mileage car. You will get a better price on a higher mileage car. Please keep that in mind. Another thing to point out that I don't think is normally always said, let's go to the interior. Some of the interior appointments are maybe not as nice as you would think, or as you wish they were. It's nicer than a lot of people give it credit for. You want to look for a seat rocking issue where the seat actually will rock. Sit in it and see if it rocks. That solution is pretty simple. You do have to take out the seat, but the parts are very cheap. They're easy to replace. And to take out the seat, folks, 1, 2, and then the back. It's just simply 3 and 4 bolts, right? And remove the targa, the seat will come right out. So that's an easy fix. Another very common issue with these, the seats. The leather is thin because GM wanted to make this car as light as possible, so the leather on these is thin. I bought these bladder covers. Actually, I think they look pretty nice, instead of replacing the seats, because the rest of the seats and the other seat are near perfect condition. Let's see, what else could we look at? Something as simple as these things tend to crack and fall off. You could have issues with plastic broken here. I've seen one cracked here. Inside the center console, these bolt holes can crack. I'm not going to open it up because, like I said, I've got this car packed. I don't want stuff falling out. Does it have a stock radio or is it aftermarket? Does it work? Climate control, big one. This thing can go blank. It doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't work. It means that there's little chips behind it that get loose and then cause the display to go out. Honestly, you can take yours out and you can send it out and have it rebuilt with a guarantee for 75 bucks. It's not a bad idea. It takes 10 minutes to get this out. I'm going to drop another video this fall on how to remove this console trim piece. It takes 10 minutes and then you can get access to the stereo and the climate control. Stereo, yeah, you want to, honestly, it's not going to add any value to the car unless it's really, really, really crazy, and it's still not going to add that much value to the car. For my money, just hope that you get a stock stereo. And if you want to modify it with your own stuff. Again, you'd look for codes. Tire pressure monitors, if the car's equipped with one, you can go through the display and easily find that, Google how to display that the car is off right now. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Okay, another common thing that could come up on these things, air conditioning could start to leak over time. A lot of times it's as simple as the lines on the AC unit. That's on the bottom, can't really show it, but that could be a common issue. Does the AC leak? You charge it, the thing will last, and you may not know it, but if you can get this thing on the lift and at a local shop and ask your mechanic to check it. Really, if you can get underneath and look to see if the car's been scraped on anything, that's a really good indication there. Battery, if you get the data on the battery, these things eat. I mean, eat batteries because of the heat. Batteries in this car, you'd be lucky to get one to last 6 years. I got an Optima to last about 6 years, but generally, if the car has a battery in it and it's 4 years old, yeah, count on replacing it sooner than later. Generally speaking, look for the condition of the cables. Cables are in nice shape. You want to try to also get into the car, check for flood damage. To me, the best way to check for flood damage is get on the ground, lift up that mat, and sniff. I know that sounds crazy, but behind that mat is a panel that has a fuse box. Open that up. You want to take a good look. Sniff around. That's probably the best way you're going to tell if this thing has had any flood damage. Fortunately, this car hasn't. And then overall, you want to just gauge the condition of the car, try to figure out where was it parked, how long did the person own it. Do not worry about multiple owner cars, folks. Okay? Believe it or not, when I bought this car, it's a 1999. I bought it in 2006. I was its 6th owner. It had 39,000 miles. Thanks to the Patriot Act, I believe that's what it is, you can't get a lot of information on previous owners of cars. But I was able to figure out from the brief information I'm able to get that this car actually sat with a dealer network for many years, and it was used by an executive who pretty much passed it on and just wrote it from one dealer network of his to another. Anyway, folks, that's the long and short of it. I might drop a second video when I think of more things you should look out for when you're shopping for a C5. Keep in mind, folks, the prices are dropping on these things. Don't look at recent history. Just 3 or 4 months ago, this car was worth $3,000 or $4,000 more than it is worth today. So keep that in mind. You can get a very nice copy of a C5 for $15,000 without question. Again, don't let anyone tell you any different about date codes on tires. That's going to be one of your biggest expenses. But these things are very reliable otherwise. They really are. Oh, yes. And I want to reiterate, folks, catbacks do not increase the value of your C5. You may not even like the sound. And you can get these used on the forums for less than half what they cost new. Catbacks do not add to the value of the car. And my last feature, the last important thing I'm going to mention is, are you ready for it? And the last, maybe most important thing I want to mention here is on the C5s, they have a part called the EBCM, or Electronic Brake Control Module. these parts can go bad. When they do, there is no replacement for them. GM, of course, doesn't make them any longer. You can have them rebuilt, but there's a caveat. The 1997 to 1999 are unrebuildable. In other words, you got to find somebody's used one, or there is an option. You can upgrade to a 2000, I think it's 2000 to 2004, and there's a lot of information on the internet. A rebuilt one, you have to do a few things, but it is doable. If you're a good DIYer, or you have a trusted mechanic and you bring him the information, it's widely available on the internet. Now, this may push some of you who are looking at a 2003, 2004 to maybe buy an early C6, 2005, 2006. It's very possible. But let me tell you that there is no aftermarket available part. I personally don't feel that this is that common. Otherwise, the aftermarket would have jumped all over it, I believe. Now, it's just an opinion here. But I just wanted to point out to you, it is, I don't think I'm going to be able to show it to you, but it is down in here. And ironically, the 97 and 98, I believe it's in the trunk, but it's again called the EBCM, Electronic Brake Control Module. Do your homework on the internet about it, but I don't believe it's all that common. Knock on wood, this car is a 1999. I've never had the issue. I don't really know what, if anything, you can do as preventive maintenance, but I just wanted you to be aware of that. So, electronic brake control module, if you're looking at a 2003 or 2004, and you're kind of hemming and hawing on price, you may want to spend a little more money and get a 2005 or 2006, if that is, if this is scary to you. Anyway, I've had the car for 17 years, knock on wood, haven't had the problem, but it's mine now, so if it ever comes up, I will deal with it. Anyway, please click the bell, you'll be notified of future videos. Like, comment, and always subscribe to the channel. More C5 content will be coming. This is Corvette Dan. Thank you so much.